Welcome, Elliot, to Spearhead Sundays. Thank you very much for coming on.
Not a problem, mate. I'm just going to try and dispose of this Chewy here.
Yep.
I'm going to pop that in this receipt here. Hopefully that's not something that you
Hopefully it's
need.
not very important. No, it's the brothel. Yeah, I don't need that. That's not a business expense.
Okay, fair enough.
Leisure.
All right, well, there you go.
It's been ages. We haven't had you on for a long time. We've been trying to work it out, trying to get our schedules to line up for like
That's right.
3 months now.
We're both very busy men these days. It's not like we're little kids anymore. We used to be able to just sort of hang out whenever we please, but now we're both sort of busy, working a lot.
doing stuff.
Which is a bit different because, when you start out as a comedian, as you know, there's a lot of time,
Oh,
downtime, especially when you first start out.
Absolutely. There's nothing to do. I suppose we'll start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself, Elliot. For those who don't know, most people will, but give us a little summary of who Elliot Loney is.
Well, I've got a tiny pin Johnson.
Yes.
I like long walks on the beach.
Uh-huh.
I'm a general sports fan.
Yep.
I don't know where to go. Should I start from the top and work my way down, or what? What's the best way?
Well, I think you started from the bottom. Small cock, long walks on the beach,
I did. I
and
certainly
sports. Pretty low tier shit.
Oh, sports is good. It went up. I went
Yeah.
up there. I started working my way up. Actually.
All right, so let's go a little bit higher than that.
Okay, sure. Well, I don't know. What do you think your listeners would like to hear?
Well, how did you get into comedy, and what type of entertainer are you? Do you think you are? What do you want to be,
Good
and
question.
what do you see yourself
Well, to answer the first question, how I got into comedy, I was always a bit of a class clown, a bit of a larrikin. At school, I was the kind of bloke who spent a lot of time out of the classroom, constantly trying to get a laugh out of my mates, and also, when I was out of the classroom, I always took it a step further and actually was the kind of guy that pulled faces through the window.
Yeah.
I was just like, you couldn't win. I
Yeah,
was
me
one of those
too.
kids.
You get kicked out of the class, and then you just throw shit in the class.
Yeah.
Disrupted even when you're not
right.
there.
That's right. Even my spirit was disruptive. And so, that's how I sort of started. I used to impersonate all of my teachers when they left the room and stuff. And then I realised I had a bit of a knack for impressions and voices. And then I created Man vs Metro, and that went viral on YouTube. And then I realised that you could sort of make a career out of making videos. And
That was like one of the, I say one of the first viral videos that I really saw.
Yeah.
That was definitely Australian.
Yeah.
Because the stuff's been going on viral online for years, but like and from Melbourne, like I think that was for me, Man vs Metro was probably one of the first things from Melbourne where I go, oh fuck, that's Melbourne.
Well, Lewis, you've had a few viral videos now, so obviously you can sort of relate to how weird it was, how strange it is sort of to have a viral, like, I mean, you're probably more accustomed to it now, but initially when I first created that video, I'd never made a video before.
Yours is really unique. Like that was the first video you put up.
I think it was like the first or the second video I'd ever done, and the first one I put up didn't really go that well. So when I created Man vs Metro, I kind of chucked it up on YouTube at the time, and I didn't really understand how YouTube worked. And then I remember waking up the next morning, and I typed in www.youtube.com, and the first video that was on the website was Man vs Metro. And
you made front page.
I was freaking out. So I was refreshing the page, going, "Is this some sort of a prank? Like, what's going on?" I logged into Facebook, and my whole news feed was just everyone sharing the video and I said, "What the fuck is going on?" Then I went online, and I realized that it had 100 or 150,000 views overnight, and it was the most watched YouTube video in the world for that day.
That's crazy.
It was crazy, man. So for me, like having that sort of initial success off that one video, I was just like, holy shit. Like,
you saw the potential in it.
I saw the potential in it, very early on. And I thought, if I can do even this once every 5 years.
Oh yeah, because it's crazy. Like with viral videos, you can never really pick what's going to go viral.
No.
Like I think once I've uploaded, I've made something and gone, this is going to go viral. That was my first Ping and Pete video. The police are planning a party. That was the only one where I was like, this is going to go nuts. But everything else where I've thought this will go well never does, or this isn't that good. Sometimes it'll go viral. It's almost impossible to predict. Like you can kind of do your best to maximize your chances by making it relatable and short. But beyond that, there's nothing too much you can do to guarantee something going viral.
Absolutely not, and that's the strangest thing about online. It's sort of like you think that there's some sort of proof of concept, like a skeleton that you can take from somewhat what someone else has done, and then go, oh, I'm just going to apply this to my work and just make everything I do viral. But as you just said, you never know what's going to go viral, and I think that's one of the magic things about online. It's sort of a surprise in itself. It's great. It makes it that much sweeter when something does really go off, because then you're like,
because just about everything that has gone viral for me has happened overnight. So I upload something, go to bed, wake up, 500,000 views.
Isn't it just the best feeling?
Yeah, it's really good to have that kind of feeling. And so after you uploaded that, you was that when you decided to put effort into being an online entertainer?
Yeah, well, initially I was working with another guy, and we were part of a production company called Priceless Productions. And we actually ended up getting a TV show out of it. Well, they did. But that's a different story altogether. But yeah, it was amazing for me to watch. I've sort of seen what having an online profile can do for you in the long run. I mean, even just making those videos that we kind of just... I guess at the time, we weren't even thinking about potentially having any longevity to come from it. We were just having fun, mucking around as friends.
Yeah, which I think is always the best way to make anything creative, is not to make it for money or to get popularity.
Making videos.
I just want to make something good or something funny, or paint a pretty thing.
And that's exactly right. And we just used to muck around and make videos, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, they had a fully fledged TV show.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, this is something that can sort of come out of sort of pursuing something that you love doing. And then I was kind of like, wow, maybe that's what I should be aiming to do, and that's what's inspired me to sort of create the prestigious 9A's.
Yeah, which is a I don't even know how to explain the prestigious 9A's. Like, it's so many different things.
It's so many different things.
But it started out as a Snapchat video with Snapchat filters, and it's turned into this beast.
Yeah, well, initially, like, Snapchat kind of had all these filters, and one of my strengths is sort of characters and personas and voices, and character acting and whatnot. So I sort of created characters for each of these filters. But the thing that annoyed me is, any Snapchat user will be able to relate to this, Snapchat kind of rolls out the filters.
Yeah, they only stay for a little bit of time, unless it's the dog filter or the flower crown. So many girls are using it to hide their ugly
their imperfections.
Yeah. No one's using Mr. Parker to make themselves look hot on Snapchat.
Yeah, well, it doesn't fly with the women, Mr. Parker. It kind of makes you look worse. But I sort of just got a bit, I guess, sort of just annoyed that I couldn't continue making the series, because I couldn't really pick when Snapchat was going to roll the filters in and roll them out. So I decided to make a cartoon. So I've created my own characters, loosely based off the filters in terms of appearance, but of course I've created the personas, the characters, the backstories.
Yeah, because anybody can kind of take a filter and make it funny, because you look funny already. But what you did with the 9A's when it was just on Snapchat was you created this whole 9 or 10 volume story of all these different characters that were different filters, and they all had different personalities and interacted with each other.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was this kind of subculture of people who liked the 9A's and were quoting 9A's and were it became a thing in high schools. And
it was crazy.
I think making the switch from Snapchat, where you're limited and you kind of play by their rules, to a cartoon where you can do anything you want.
Well, that's exactly right, and it's just crazy. This is the first time I've ever sort of done any sort of animation before, so I'm sort of learning as I'm going. But just, as you said, the possibilities from doing an animation are endless, because there's no limits to where you can put these characters, what scenarios, what situations you can throw these characters in, and that's what I love the most. You're not limited by any...
You're not even limited by reality.
No,
really.
Not at all.
You could do something in space.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, because it's just, if you can think of it, it can be drawn.
It's incredible as to how many people it's reached as well, in terms of, you just touched on earlier with the schools and stuff as well. It's also high profile athletes, because it sort of resonates with anyone who's ever been part of a team. And it being the first sort of animated comedy sports show, You know,
I can't even think of an American.
It's engaged
like
the
that.
passion of sports fans everywhere,
Yeah.
and so it's incredibly endearing for me to kind of log onto my Facebook and just see all these messages coming in, and every now and then I'll get a message from a well-known sports star, and I'll be like, "Wow, I know this guy," and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"What the hell?" Like
Yeah.
it's really caught on, and I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'm very very excited to bring it to the masses.
Well, even someone like me, I don't know a fucking thing about footy or
Yeah.
any kind of sport. I don't particularly enjoy sport,
Yep.
but I really like the 9As, and I relate to it because even if you don't get sport, you know the types of people that are into sport.
That's right.
And that play it and that are huge fans of it, and I can relate with it like that because everybody knows all of these people.
Well, originally I made a very conscious effort to make it. AFL is obviously the backdrop of this cartoon, but I want it to resonate with as many sports fans as possible. So a lot of the characters that I've created within this show have their own sort of individual sports backgrounds, whether it be tennis, basketball, soccer, hockey. I'm trying to engage the passion that every sports fan has and then sort of impose it onto the cartoon. So every sports fan can watch it. And even if they don't enjoy AFL, they can be like, hey, this is funny because they're talking about soccer, which is my favourite sport. Because everyone has their own, even if you're not particularly into sport, everyone has a sport that they enjoy watching from time to time.
Yeah.
So I think in that respect, it's a very powerful thing, and I think it's going to be very valuable to the AFL because, as you said, you're not someone who particularly enjoys football or really watches football, but at the same token, you enjoy the cartoon. You enjoy
and that gets me thinking about football.
Yeah.
Maybe I will get into it because I've watched this cartoon.
So that's why I think I'm really onto a winner here, and I'm so excited because of the interest I've had from networks and just the interest that I have from sort of financial backers when they sort of hear the idea, their ears kind of pick up because they know it's very innovative, it's very original, and it's never been done. And I think when you're onto something like that, a lot of people can see from the outset, hey, this is a different thing. This is very original, and this is something that really does have the potential to go mainstream. And that's what I've always had in mind from the moment I created the concept.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree. Like, I don't think I've known Elliot. How long have we known each other? Like, since
6 years, probably longer. 7 years, 8 years.
I think
25 years.
2012 is when I first started online shit. So
Yeah.
that's when you would have heard of me.
Yeah.
And then I think we met in 2013.
Yeah.
So you grossly exaggerated. 6 years. So what, 4 years, I guess?
Probably.
Almost 4 years
Yep.
we would know each other.
Yep.
And I've never seen Elliot put more work into anything else. And not just work, but like planning and planning for the future and figuring out the annoying little details about like the shit stuff that you got to do. I've never seen him plan like an absolute. He's planning a whole new reality where the 9As exist. And I've seen like a rough cut of the trailer, and I got to tell you, it's fucking good. It's
thanks,
very
man.
very good.
It's
like,
it's crazy because, as Lewis said, Lewis knows me pretty well, and I've always had a pretty strong belief in my skill set. Like, I know that there's a lot of things that I can do that I fully back myself in. I know I definitely know what my strengths are. I also know what my weaknesses are. But having said that, I know when it comes to impressions and voices, really.
You're the goat.
I have a lot of confidence in my ability to deliver that, and for me, it's very exciting that now I have like a vehicle that is able to sort of, I guess what's the word for it, like showcase what I'm best at, which is character acting, voices. And it's really exciting for me now. As I said earlier, I'm not limited by anything because it's a cartoon. I can really let my imagination run rampant, and I love being creative and creating stuff from sort of nothing, and this is what the 9As has enabled me to do, and that's what makes it so exciting because, as I said, you've seen the trailer. I have put a lot of work into it. I've spent a lot of pointless hours up at night just kind of creating backstories because I know that the more thought out these characters are, the more of a backstory they have, the easier it's going to be when I finally do create the full series to sit in a room and say, this is this character, this is this character, this is this character. I've even gone as far to put down their exact weight, their exact height.
Oh yeah, I've seen your character sheets and your bios, and you're putting in shit like the character's 40, and this is what happened when they're 15. You've got you've got their whole life written down in like 3 paragraphs. Yeah, and I think that's really important to do that because anybody can be funny or tell a funny joke, but it's much harder to get people invested in characters and story and yourself as the entertainer. That's the real hard part. Because, you know, anyone will laugh at a joke, but to get someone to actually care and give a shit so that they come back next week and they want to see how the story unfolds, that's what I would say is almost the hardest part.
That's it. And as I said, like, as you know, I've always been, like, looking back on the history of sort of even just my personal achievements, like everything that I've ever done that's been noteworthy, it's been something that I've wanted to do at the time. And Lewis knows probably more than anyone. Like, I'm the kind of guy that when I put my mind to it, I can definitely do something and do it well. But I just need to really want to do it. And as Lewis has specified earlier, like this cartoon is something that as soon as I came up with a concept, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see it through. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I'm going to put my all into it and see what happens. And that's why I thought, you know, I'm obviously passionate about this project, so I may as well give it my all and then see what I can do. And that's exactly what I've done. I've sort of just invested in it, put my whole heart and soul into it, and I'm going to see it through.
Yeah. And so, what's your plan? Because the show hasn't been picked up by a network or anything. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not official. What's your plan? Is it a web series? Is it for TV?
Well, as I said earlier, I have had some interest from some networks, and I'm not going to specify that yet because it is early days. However, basically, so I've got like a management team who sort of look after some of the stuff that I do at the moment, and basically from what I understand, the way that these kind of things work is I'm working very closely with an animator, Sam Ross, on this project, and he's an absolute genius.
Yeah, the shit that I've seen in the trailer, like the trailer that I saw is probably a third done.
Yeah,
maybe,
he is
and
really
it's incredible. Good. Like, even though it's not done at all, you can see what it is.
Every now and then you have working relationships with people where I feel like you just mentally synergize, and with Sam, it's really great for me to work with him because a lot of the times I'll just kind of say, I won't even have to tell him how to animate it.
Yeah.
I'll give him like a rough skeleton and say, hey mate, this is the storyboard that I've sort of drawn up in my head. This is the way I'd like the character to move and talk. And then without even having to even elaborate on anything, he'll just come back with like a draft and say, hey, was this kind of what you were...
that's the best thing.
And I go, it's amazing. I'm just like, mate, you are completely on the same page as me. And that's what you want to work. You want to work with people who are kind of have the same end goal in mind. And that's exactly what Sam has. And he's very talented in his own right. And I'm very lucky to have him helping me with this animation because he's an absolute genius.
Yeah. It's really important to find people who you can work with like that, because you know, it's the worst thing when you find someone who's like, say if they're a really good music producer and you just need, and you're not, but you know, you just have this idea and a feeling of what you want it to sound like, but you can't explain it in technical terms.
Yeah.
That they will get exactly. So obviously, if you can find someone that you can speak to with your stupid language that you know, you don't know anything about what you're talking about, and they're the expert and they can understand it and turn it into what you actually mean, that's really important, and it's very rare. Like, so often you'll tell a graphic designer, I want a logo that looks like this, and they'll be like, I know exactly what you mean, and they give it back, and it's completely wrong, but you don't have the knowledge to tell them why. That's why you came to them.
That's exactly right, and it's just as I said earlier, I'm so fortunate to have found him and for him to be working so closely with me. I feel like it's in very safe hands, and I'm very excited to see the end product. So going back to what you said earlier,
like in a perfect world, where exactly what you want to happen happens. What happens to the 9As?
Yeah, so basically what I'm going to do now, I've written up a pitch document with Sam. We've sort of written up this full pitch document. I've written everything in terms of the synopsis, all the character bios,
because it's a series of about 12 episodes.
I'm hoping to make it into a fully fledged series, like a Family Guy, South Park, but uniquely Australian, and also with the sporting background. Backdrop. So basically then, once we have this pitch document and the trailer's complete, the trailer's probably still about 2.5 to 3 weeks away. I've just engaged a sound engineer who's going to be doing all the sound effects, the songs, sort of like all the little nuances that you probably don't pick up on when you're watching like a cartoon. Like I'm sort of learning as I'm going with animation, but like
stuff that you wouldn't notice when it's there, but you do when it's not.
Like, you know, just the opening of a door, like the background noise of kids running around, like stuff like that you just don't even factor in. It adds a whole lot to the actual piece. So I've sort of engaged him as well. So it's probably going to take about 2.5 to 3 weeks to be complete, and then once that's done, I'll probably drop it on Facebook for the masses to see, and then I'll take the trailer put it into the pitch document, and then I'll go around with my manager and we'll go to a whole bunch of networks, including the ones that have already expressed interest, sit down and just sort of explain the concept, and then try and get some sort of financial backing. And I think, I think it's only a matter of time. I think it's extremely. It has the potential to be extremely profitable if someone believes in the concept as much as I do. It's just going to take, as we spoke about off the mic earlier when we had lunch or we had breakfast. All it takes is one guy who has the money to believe in it.
They're just going to take that risk on the idea, and I think that. In Australia, anyway, it's happening in America, but in Australia, because we're like the kind of the new generation of entertainers, which are people coming up from the internet and using the internet to get big without the networks. We haven't really, in their world, we haven't really proved themselves, because nobody in Australia has taken the risk and gone, oh, I'm going to give Lewis a show and see how it goes. Like that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I think that once that does happen, it's just going to open doors for all of us. Do you know what I mean?
And that's sort of I'm hoping that this is kind of like one of the first things that will kind of lead the charge for the whole bunch of talented online guys such as yourself and a lot of other online comedians and entertainers coming through, because really as we know, the power of online is the future. And it's going to be once these networks start to realise the potential of online and capitalise on it, that's when I think it's going to change.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I put a video out last week, to just that lad parody, and that got like 700,000 views in 24 hours. And I was looking at that and thinking, I filmed that with a budget of nothing in my attic, and it outrated most Australian TV shows.
And there you go. That's the proof of concept right there,
Yeah. So. But I don't know. I suppose it's. I understand why they're not jumping all over us, because the risk hasn't been taken at all yet. So there's no, this guy he was big online and he had a really good TV show or a good movie. It just hasn't been taken yet. But I think that I think that the 9As could be that thing that pushes open the door.
Yeah, well, I think recently, like, sort of my attitude's changed as well, because I've always believed in my skill set and believed in my ability as an entertainer, and I think if you're going to be successful in this industry, you have to, and you would agree with that. You sort of have to have that inner belief in your capabilities and what you, and only you as yourself know what you're capable of doing.
Absolutely. Like, I'm never going to care about your shit as much as you will. And the same for me. That's goes for anybody. No one will ever care about your own personal success. No,
I think that I want to see my friends do well. Like, I'd be rapt to see you do well, and I think you'd be rapt to see me do well as well. But I think what I'm trying to get at is like, only you know what you're fully I don't know what you're fully capable of, and you don't know what I'm fully capable of. Only you yourself know that. And I think I remember reading some analogy, and I remember recently I went back to one of my old schools, Brighton Grammar, and I was trying to inspire the kids. And
That's very cool.
I was telling them this story, and it's a really...
My school doesn't like me.
Well, my school didn't like me either. So it's remarkable that I got invited back. And it was remarkable that I stood on stage for 45 minutes and refrained from saying fuck once.
Yeah, that's impressive, man.
Yeah. Well, it almost slipped my tongue many times. But I said this story, and I think this is like a really good analogy for anyone who's kind of trying to break away and do stuff.
Yeah.
And stop me and tell me if you've heard this before, right. Lewis. But it's like this story where this guy was on the freeway and he pops his tyre. So he pulls over to the side of the road, and he doesn't know how to change a tyre because he's just...
retarded?
Pretty much. So he goes, but he knows that there's a jack involved and you have to change a few nuts.
I haven't heard this before. So we've got a guy with Down syndrome.
Yeah. He's a downy. Yeah. But anyway, so he pulls over the car and he's freaking out because he tries to call RACV or whatever. He can't get reception. So he goes, stuff it. I'm going to get out of the car. And even though I don't know how to change this tyre, I'm going to attempt to do so. Yeah. And before he was on the phone, right, freaking out because he couldn't get reception. And all these cars were driving past, and he was getting noticeably more frustrated that every car on the freeway would just bypass him.
They saw his problem and ignored it.
Saw his problem and ignored it, right? So then this guy went, screw it, I don't know how to change a tyre. I can't get reception, so I'm going to have an attempt to do it myself. And then even though he didn't know what he was doing, he got out, he jacked up the car, and then he sort of like put his hands on his shoulders. He's like, how do I do this? He wasn't 100% sure how to do this. Sorry, hands on his hips rather.
Yeah.
He wouldn't put his hands on his shoulders. Just confirming that he's a downy.
Yeah. Hands on his shoulders like a scarecrow.
And then he became a scarecrow. Then he walked out into the meadow.
This isn't fucking changing tyre.
And then a whole bunch of birds landed on him, and that's pretty much the analogy.
And then he just got hit by a car. He got completely totaled, and that's
life.
There you go, Brian.
No, but basically, from this point, he was startled to find that a whole bunch of cars had banked up behind his car and were offering, like, people were getting out of the car and offering to help him change this tire.
Yeah.
And the analogy there is like when people see you making an effort to help yourself, they're going to make an effort to help you.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it with this cartoon. I don't know anything about animation. I'm learning as I'm going. I'm doing something that's like pretty much very groundbreaking in terms of no one else has sort of attempted to do a project of this scale.
I can't think of any Australian cartoon like other than Blinky Bill.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not a pure
there's other
children's
ones,
show.
But but this is sort of like an adult sort of cartoon.
Yeah, I haven't seen one
like Family Guy
for adults or a comedy. Yeah,
like Family Guy or The Simpsons. And so even though I don't know what I'm doing, it's remarkable that I've kind of, because I'm working so hard and people can sort of see that from the outset, everyone's trying to help.
Yeah.
Because even though that I'm working really hard on this and I'm sort of learning as I go, people are kind of saying, hey mate, I believe in this because you believe in this. I'm going to offer my assistance.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying before. Like, that's why I'm so on board with this idea and I'm keen to help Elliot, because I've never fucking seen him work this hard on anything else. And people all around you, they notice, everybody watches everybody else, and if somebody all of a sudden just drops everything and starts, pushing like a massive amount of effort into one thing, people are like, fuck, what's that?
Exactly.
It must be important.
Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it, and that's the analogy. Probably fluffed it a bit, but
no, it makes sense.
But that's pretty much
true.
Yeah, that's pretty much like it's a good analogy, and I heard that and I was like, that's pretty true. That's very true.
Because if you sit there and you're not doing anything, of course no one's going to help you because it goes back to what I was saying. Like, no one's going to drive your project more than you. Because otherwise they're just going to turn around and be like, you're not fucking doing anything.
And that's why I have a lot of respect for people that go out online and put themselves out there on that online platform, because, it's very easy. It's very easy for people like on the outset to be like, hey man, look at this online comic doing this stuff. But it's just like at the end of the day, like that's the person taking the risks and putting themselves out there and being exposed. And that's not an easy thing to do. So
and it's a skill, making videos and writing them and editing them and filming them and cultivating a fan base.
Yeah.
Those are all just like a tiny portion of what an online entertainer does, and it's very easy to look at it and go, oh, that's just that Facebook guy. But
100%.
It's a lot more than that.
100%. And that's sort of what I want to prove. Like, I've always wanted to sort of prove that I'm more than that. And I think I have always, as I said earlier, believed in my skill set. It's just a question of me, staying humble, staying on the grind and letting my work do the talking for me. And I'm hoping that this cartoon will be something that will enable me to prove that point.
Fuck yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Brilliantly summed up. I think that's good. So keep an eye out for the 9As. The trailer will be dropping in maybe 3 weeks.
Probably, about 3 weeks.
About that. So that should be good. What else have you been up to? We'll talk a little bit more, and then we'll get into some questions.
Yeah.
So you were in a movie recently.
Yeah, very funny, very, very funny. So this bloke called Connor Fairclout, he's a Afters graduate from, like Afters is like film school.
Uh-huh.
And sorry, your dog's just
I don't know what he's doing.
In the background, he's scratching his...
Albert, stop. What do you just calm down, buddy?
For everyone listening to the podcast, Lewis has a dog that looks exactly like him.
Yeah,
it's a
fucking
whippet.
Alien.
It's a whippet, and I cannot explain to you in words how much this dog looks like Lewis. It's alarming.
Elliot has a pet that looks like him as well. It's like this. It's like in the fruit bowl. It's this pineapple. Exactly like him.
Oh, you're a dog, literally. Anyway, so this guy Connor, he was an Afters graduate and sort of filmmaker, and he'd been watching my stuff for a while. and basically he and his friend Thomas Doherty were backed by this financial, just a backer who just believed in this concept, which is this I'm doing like a surfing mockumentary. It's like a feature length mockumentary about surfing.
Sick.
And he just kind of called up my management one day and was like, I want you to be the main role.
Awesome.
And then he flew me up to Bondi, put me up in a nice place. I had like a couple of weeks in Bondi.
Oh yeah, I remember where you were staying.
Yeah.
Because I came to your hotel room when
you
after
did.
my show.
You did, because you were there.
Yeah.
You did some gigs over there at the time, which was good because we got to catch up, and you came. It was a pretty nice
for
place.
about half an hour, and then you went to the airport.
Yeah, had to go.
That's how hectic our schedules have been.
Yeah.
I think the last time we properly saw each other was in Sydney for half an hour, and then Elliot went to the airport.
That's right. That's pretty true. And so yeah, I was so fortunate. I was just like, this is unbelievable. And he turned out to be a great bloke. His mate was awesome too. And we just kind of roomed up and had a great time, and it was a great experience for me because it was actually quite high budget. At one point, we booked out the entire Bondi Beach.
Then that's just fucked.
It would have cost like $30,000.
Oh yeah, it was booking out the beach.
It was like ridiculous. Like all these Asian tourists were coming down with their cameras, being like, "Oh, who is this? Who is this?" They thought I was.
Sorry guys, you're gonna have to drown on that side of the beach.
They thought I was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
But the most hilarious part was I actually got sick the moment I went down there. Like I came down with a really bad cold, and there was one of these scenes where we had like a drone shot, and like it was like a multi-camera shot. We had a scuba diver with an underwater camera there, and I was on a jet ski getting pulled out from the surf.
And that already sounds like a fucking $1 million operation.
It was a big operation, mate. And I was running into the water, in and out of the water.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh wow, Elliot's like really involved in this production. Like he's going in and out of the surf. Like he doesn't even need to do this." And they were like, "Oh, well, Elliot, like, why are you such a method actor?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a method actor. I'm actually just going out there to blow my nose. Like, my nose was running like a tap. Like, I was so sick. Like, in between shots, I had to go out in the surf and like blow my nose in the water and then like come back out.
Fucked.
And everyone was like, "Wow, Elliot's so dedicated."
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
"No, I've just got a fucking cold.
Disgusting.
I'm actually dying. yeah, I'm just trying to stay alive."
Yeah, that's sick.
But
so what's the movie about? It's a surfing mockumentary.
Yeah, it's a surfing mockumentary. I can't go too much more into it without giving away.
Because it's not released, is it? Yeah.
It's not released yet, but basically what the aim is, we're aiming for Sundance, which is in Utah, in America. So it's probably the biggest film festival in the world. So he's got high hopes, which I like.
Yeah.
He's aiming for the stars, and hopefully we can get there because it would be a dream come true to go to Utah.
If you played the lead role in a fucking Sundance film, that's a big deal.
That would be a big deal.
Chuck that on the resume.
So I actually haven't seen the film yet. Apparently he's going to send it down to me on DVD just to have a look at in the next sort of...
You can see the trailer online though, can't you?
You can see the trailer online at the Head Above Water Facebook page. Just check it out at Head Above Water.
So that's what the movie's called, Head Above Water.
It's called Head Above Water, yeah.
Head Above Water.
Myself and another online guy, Neil Kolhatkar, who plays my rival in the film. We've also got some good support acts like Christopher Stollery, and there's a few well-known faces that pop up throughout the movie, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, it's my first sort of shot at doing like a proper lead man role in a movie, so it's just a good thing to add on the resume, and it was just a really cool experience hanging out with the crew, because the crew are all really nice people, and the people that I worked with, Connor and Tommy, they were both ripping blokes, so it was just awesome just to have like that really cool environment around on set as well. Everyone was just like really chilled out and awesome and working hard, so it was good.
No, that's cool. That's cool to be doing movies, and you know that I think that now that change that I was talking about with online comics, I think that the wall is finally kind of coming down.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at someone like Connor, because Connor was a younger guy. Connor, I think, was only about 21, 22, which is very young to...
That's fucked. He's doing his own movie.
To have a budget and be doing something as big as that. And I was blown away by how composed he was and how good he was on set as a director. Like, he had a lot of things to worry about all the time, organising the extras, or organising the directors, the producers, the runners, the cameraman. He was very busy for that week especially, and I was blown away by how composed he was for such a young bloke. But the thing is, because he is young, he sees the potential of online. Yeah,
they get it. It's very hard to explain to someone who hasn't grown up with it. And I understand that. Like, it took me like at least 2 years to get it through my parents' head that what I'm doing online will make me a comedian. Like,
Yeah.
they really didn't get that I was a comedian until they saw, I showed them, oh, look, this got 500,000 views. They're like, that doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
to me. But then they saw, 70 people in a theater for my first show. That meant more to them.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Than 500,000 views.
The same thing happens with my parents as well. Like, I try to explain to my dad, I'm like, look, the fact that I have 120,000 fans on Facebook means nothing to him. You know, it's just like, can you sell out 100-seater, mate? I'm like, yeah, I can do that whenever I want. Like, that's the point of having that many, which is, like, as you said, it's very difficult to sort of describe that to a generation that hasn't grown up with it. But it's really cool to see that the new generation coming through, and I think it's only going to take another 5 to 10 years when those people are in the more senior positions for them to sort of step up and be like, hey, instead of using this guy that's been in TV for ages, I'm going to use this guy who's been building up. Because the other thing is, people who follow us, people who follow you, Lewis, people who follow me, they see that we've been at it for a while. And not only that, I feel like they're not really fans. They're more people that have like a vested interest in our careers. They want to see us do well.
Yeah.
They want to see us do well. So that becomes a very powerful thing. That means if we have something that gets off the ground, they're going to get around it and support it because they want to see us do well because they've been backing us for such a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like like even when I see musicians or other comedians that I like, it's great seeing the journey and seeing them progress.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching that and experiencing that as a fan and as a consumer. And I think that feeling is worth so much more than just some dude who's on TV because he's on TV.
Definitely.
Because it's like an emotional thing. Like, I like Elliot Loney. I don't just like his videos.
It's a two-way thing as well because of that, because I feel the support of the people who follow me, I also feel like I owe them something. Like, I feel like,
you can't let them down.
I can't let them down. Like, now that these people believe in me and believe in what I'm capable of, I need to prove to them that their time in me hasn't been wasted.
Exactly.
Like, their time invested in me hasn't been wasted, and that they can happily say I was there from the start, and I believed in you, and I want that to be something that happens for me. Like, I want to create sort of like a legacy that I can leave behind and be like, I worked really hard. When the chips were down, and then I was able to turn it around and sort of look.
Because that was a massive driving factor for me for my first show and every show that I do since. Because in the stand-up world, online comedians are often looked down upon by everybody else in the industry.
Very true.
Almost as if for us, selling tickets is easier, but not because. It doesn't mean that the online shit is easy. Do you know what I mean? I think that a lot of people look down on people who are big online, and they go, "Oh, you only sell tickets because you're big online." And it's like, yeah, that's a big part of why we sell tickets. But what you are missing out on is getting big online is a fucking skill.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, everybody would have done it.
Well, that's exactly right. And a lot of people, I think, wish they kind of had the courage to do that. Because as you know, like, and coming from my own personal experience, like, when I started out, I copped a lot of criticism from people outside my friendship group, people who didn't really necessarily believe in what I did and have the sort of end goal in mind that I did. Like, I had this very concise view of where I wanted to go and the direction in which I wanted to head in.
And I think that I was going to say, when you were talking about the understanding your potential and why other people don't get that, is because people don't see what you want to be.
Yeah.
They only see what you are.
That's right.
So if anybody's like just starting out, like if you're, I don't know, starting out painting and you want to be a fucking amazing artist, and then you draw a piece of shit, the people, and it's like your first thing, which will happen if you start out something, you're going to suck at it, and then go, oh, that looks like a piece of shit.
Yeah,
that's true, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to reach what you want. The only reason the person is saying that is because they don't see what's in your head, which is your idea of what you're going to be. They only see what you currently are. Yeah,
the way that I look at it is like, I remember. As I said, I'm very fortunate and very happy now that I have a very supportive base, and the people that that sort of get around me really back what I do and back me in, which
Yeah,
I've worked
and when
very
you
hard.
get that, those people are the ones who start to go, fuck, I think he's going to get here. Those are the people who start to believe in what you're going to be as well.
Yeah.
And when you get that, like, when you get a message, like you just got it in the car before, love your shit, Elliot Loney, I can't wait till you blow up. You're going to do it. Like, that's what you... When you get those messages, that's like, fuck, I'm doing the right thing.
It means the world to me as well. Like, it just means so much to me personally, and I know it does to you as well. That when they take the time out of their day just to write something like that, it's just...
Not just to say I liked your video or you're funny, but to go... You're going places. I think you're going to be huge. Like that's an amazing thing to hear from someone.
But for me, very early on when I started out, I don't know if you were the same. But in terms of, they're probably too scared to give you any sort of criticism after all the face beef stuff.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
But when I first initially started out, it doesn't happen anymore. But when I initially started out, like I used to get like every now and then I get like a negative comment, and I used to sort of let that really get to me. And first when I first started, that really got me down. But then I sort of started thinking like, hey, like at the end of the day, like boys and girls write like messages or talk behind other people's backs.
Yeah.
But men and women stand up and despite adversity keep charging forward.
That's it.
And I thought, I want to be a man. I don't want to concern myself about what other people think about me. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on getting better every step of the way. No matter how hard I fall, I'm just going to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing. If you want to get anything out of your work, you need to be able to tell yourself that even if you do fall flat on your face, you got to be able to pick yourself up and just keep charging forward. And I think that's something that I pride myself on. Like there has been times where I've definitely fallen flat, but I've also every single time that I've found myself down, I've picked myself up and just keep charging myself forward. And that's
because it's easy to stop. It's
real
very
easy to stop.
To be like, I failed, I give up, or I'm happy with the level of success I have now. But if you just stop, I'm happy with this. You're only going to go down.
Yeah.
And that happened with me as well. Like when I first started getting into stand-up comedy, all other people, lots of other stand-up comics in the industry, because I was doing open mics with the people just gigging every week in shitholes. So I was meeting people who they've been doing it for years, and then all of a sudden I've only been doing it for 1 year, and I'm selling out shows.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have people going, oh, he only sells tickets because he's online. He sucks live, and they've never seen me. But at the end of the day, I only ever heard of people saying that, or I saw it online, and you know, in the past I've gone up to people and said, hey, I heard you said this. I don't know if you have a problem with me, or like being really polite, trying to get them in person to say it. And I've never ever heard that to my face. I think that says a lot about the other people. If they can't say it to your face, it doesn't fucking matter.
100%. And I think it becomes more and more relevant as we were saying earlier. Like the bigger you become, and the more you start focusing on your stuff, and the more people you get around you. Like now, as I said earlier, like I have a very supportive base and people who are very invested in me. Like hoping that I'm going to do well, and because of that, as I said, I feel like I owe them my success for their loyal sort of support, and it becomes so like irrelevant. Like it starts to become really irrelevant about what other people think of you, because like I know that I'm a good bloke, and I know that like I always give the time of day to anyone who says g'day, and no matter who they are.
Success doesn't stop someone else.
Absolutely not.
Me selling a ticket doesn't mean that you won't sell a ticket.
Yeah, 100%,
you know
mate.
What I mean?
Absolutely
so
not.
if you're not selling tickets and you're using energy to fucking hate on me because I am, you could put that into your own career and focus on that. Like,
and the thing is, I actually feel sorry for people like that, because at the end of the day, like I've never gone out of my way to really put someone down for doing what they love.
Yeah.
And then I look at someone who does that, and even not on my own videos, even if I'm just on Facebook and I see a negative comment directed towards someone else, I'm just like, man, like what makes you do that? Like you must hate yourself, because at the end of the day, like I'm very comfortable with who I am and where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I know that I'm a good person. So like, you know, at the end of the day, if I see someone saying negative about someone else, I just think like, what's wrong with you, man?
It
like,
doesn't matter.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. Like, it's just like, man, I feel sorry for you. Like, I hope that one day you see that there's more to life. Like, to me, what that shows is someone who isn't focusing on their own life, because if they're letting something as minuscule as that affect them in that way, for them to take time out of their day to write a negative comment and post that, I just think to myself, man, that just proves that you're a loser, because you're not focusing on your own life.
Yeah, I think
you're not focusing about where you want to go. Like, direct your energy on you. Like, you know what I mean? Like
get better at your own shit, and then if you see something you don't like, you just ignore it.
Yeah, man.
And I do Lou review, which is talking shit about people.
But in a funny way.
Yeah, my main intention is not just to talk shit and bring people down. Like I don't hate anybody I've ever reviewed. Maybe SoFlo or Susan McLean. I don't like those two people. Yeah. But my intention is never just to I'm going to ruin this person's career. It's always I'm going to make a funny video and make people laugh, and the subject matter changes upon that. Otherwise, I'd just be doing a video going, "This is why you suck, and here are all of the reasons why, and I hate you."
Yeah, yeah, 100%, mate, 100%, and that's just the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it, mate.
That's it.
All right, well, let's get into some questions. Let's do the miscellaneous bit at the end.
Oh, okay, miscellaneous bit at the end. I've missed this. It's been a long time since I've tackled this.
The miscellaneous bit at the end?
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah, this is I don't forgive you, man.
Sorry,
apologies
that's
not good enough.
miscellaneous bit.
Getting excited.
I actually have missed it though. I can't.
Are you all right, man? Are you self-harming?
It's opposite day, is it not?
No. Yes. I don't know what the answer to that one is.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got 3 emails from listeners. If you want to send an email in for another podcast, send it to contact@lewispears.com, and I'll give you some potentially good or horrible advice. All right, so this one is for both of us. When people see you in person, like your family and friends, do they ever pressure you into being funny? Because people know you're a comedian. This guy's retarded. Do people think because you're a comedian that you're funny all the time and ask you to tell a joke right there and then? If though, do you have any funny stories relating to this?
Oh man.
Let me translate that. You're a comedian. Do people often try to make you be funny for
all
them?
the time, man?
Yes, it's the worst.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't mind it every now and then. Like, I enjoy making people laugh and getting a laugh out of them and making them happy. Like, that's always been something that I enjoy doing.
I like making people laugh, but not on cue.
Yeah.
Not like, make me laugh.
There was this one time I remember where this massive bloke, I was out at a nightclub once and I was pretty disheveled at this point.
Yeah.
And he sort of pulled me aside in the cubicle. I think he was actually taking a piss at the time, which made it even more uncomfortable.
Weird. So he's got one hand on his cock.
One hand on his Johnson. One hand on my shirt. I was like, hang on, mate, what's going on here, son? And then he was just kind of like, mate, like, do an impression for me. Like, stuck his phone in my face. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I started reeling off a few of my, like, impressions that I'm known for. I think I did, like, Bear, Hughesy, David Attenborough,
I can't do that. I don't mind. I like photos. I take photos and I'll talk to you. But I can't. I hate videos.
Literally, because he was so big and, like, ridiculously strong.
You've got to pick your battles.
No,
yeah.
But, like, I couldn't move. Like, he was off his nuts, smashed, and he was holding me by the shirt. And I was just like, all right, mate, we'll have a good night. And he'd be like, nah, come back here, mate. Do another one. And I'd be like, oh, man, I can't. Like, I've got to go. Like, I've actually got to go. Like, originally I came here for a piss, but now I can't even do that.
Now I smell like piss.
Yeah, so, like, can you please just let me go back to the club?
Yeah.
Anyway, like, I reckon I was probably in the bathroom with this bloke after all his mates started piling into the bathroom. I just ended up doing stand-up for 20 minutes for this piss bloke and all his mates while they took piss. Like, it was just, like, the most ridiculous thing ever. So, yeah, in those situations, they're very frustrating, but... if it's just like a one-off kind of a thing or a photo, like I'm flattered by that. But like it's when people like step the boundary.
Command, yeah, when it's a, like do a trick. That's like I think that's rude as fuck. Like I remember I was at a party. I was at my friend's 21st, and it was a big party, so there were lots of people who had never met me, and there were some fans there that got photos with me. And I always, when it's someone's birthday party and people are getting photos with me, I feel. Do you feel weird about that? Like, it's like, oh, it's not my thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's happened a few times. Yeah, it does. It can feel pretty weird, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so that happened, and then there was this one guy, and he was a little bit pissed. And he's like, oh, so you're a comedian, right? I'm like, yeah, man, that's what I do. He goes, oh, can you tell me a joke?
Yeah,
and
it's
then
annoying. It's always happens.
It's the worst. And then I just reply with my normal response, which is like, oh, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm a plumber. I'm like, oh, could you unclog the toilet for me?
Yeah.
And then people thought that was funny, and then he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's funny." No, but seriously, can you tell me a joke? And I was like, "No, I don't. I'm not going to tell a joke. There's no stage, there's no audience. It's not my party. I don't want to tell a joke. Yeah. No, but you got to tell me a joke, man." And then he just kept pushing to get me to tell a joke, and then And then he started to get offended.
Oh,
because I wouldn't. It's like, bro, you're being the rude cunt. You're not allowed to get offended in this situation.
Well, instead of him giving you a microphone, you should just hand it in the plunger and being like, off you go, brother.
I know. It's like, mate, I'll tell you what, I'll do a joke if you pay me $10.
Yeah,
and that's
mate,
a ticket, and then I'll do an hour for you.
That's a bit nowhere. I would be probably a bit frustrated by that as well. That's sort of happened to me before. I sort of know what you mean. Like, people kind of just expect you to kind of they don't understand that like your material is something that you've worked very hard to sort of accumulate.
It's almost not like I was talking about this in another podcast where music is a very respected skill.
Yeah.
Like, because I was thinking because like, whereas being funny or being a comedian maybe isn't, and I think the reason why musicians are held up really high and comedians aren't as high is because people can be funny every now and then or accidentally. No one can accidentally write a fucking sick song.
For sure, yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, sometimes I'm funny. So being a comedian, you're just a little bit funnier than that.
Yeah.
So they don't see the writing and the whole year it takes to write an hour. So yeah, it does happen. All right, I got another question. Hey cunts, recently had a guy tell me he was bi and he thought I was attractive. I didn't really know how to react, but I don't want him to think I'm a homophobe. How do I react? Please help. I got a good answer for this, mate. So he thinks you're hot, but you're not gay, but you don't want to be a homophobe. So what you got to do is you're gonna have to fuck him, otherwise you hate the gays.
Let me read that again. Recently had a guy tell me I was bi. He was bi, and he thought I was attractive. I didn't really know how to react. I don't want him to think I'm a homophobe. How do I react? Please help.
That please help makes me think that he's like writing this in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And the guy's just on the door going, I think you're really hot.
I'm stumped by this one. I wouldn't.
I've had this happen to me before.
I really wouldn't know what to do in this situation because I've never found myself in this situation before. But I think, man, like in all seriousness, surely you just say, "Look, mate, I'm not interested." I don't.
Yeah,
I don't rate you in that way. Like, you're a good bloke.
Sorry, man.
You're a good bloke, but I wouldn't fuck you.
Yeah, I know. I've had this happen before. It's I assume you know this person. I had a guy come up to me in the street and tell me that I was cute and ask for my number. And I just said, "Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, but I'm not gay.
Yeah.
Have a nice day."
Yeah.
And then he did that really well.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy said, "Please help," so it sounds like the dude wants to rape him. But that might be a little bit different.
Is he breathing at his window? Like, what is going on there? Like, I feel like he's written this live and sent this through, like, while he's
in a locked room.
Locked in a room.
The guy's got an axe and he's cutting down the door.
Is this in the dungeon?
I think you're really attractive.
Oh, man.
But yeah, dude, just don't be weird about it. Just say, nah, man, I'm not gay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Yeah, I reckon.
Not that hard.
I reckon, yeah.
That's your answer.
Yep.
All right. This one's a little bit more of a in-depth one. G'day, cunt. I've been listening to Spearhead Sundays since the podcast began, and I still don't understand why all these cunts keep asking relationship advice from a 22-year-old giraffe-looking bloke who sits in his bedroom and talks to himself for an hour every week. But anyway, seeing as everyone else is doing it, I thought I'd give it a try. Thanks, mate, and fuck you. My name is Jordan, and I'm 18 years old, 6'3", and around 120 kilograms. Yes, I'm fat, in brackets, and ugly. I've always struggled when it comes to talking to girls that I like, probably because I'm a fat, ugly cunt. So, high self-esteem with dealing with you.
Yeah, wow, okay,
Anyway,
so you've got confidence.
I went straight from high school into uni, and I've liked this girl from my high school for 3 years now. I used to try and talk to her every day, and we became good friends. While we were still in high school, around the start of year 12, I decided I need to grow more balls than I asked her out. I was pretty devastated when she said that she could only ever see us as being friends. As we go to the same university, I tried to keep the relationship up via texting, Snapchat, and seeing her around campus, but halfway through the semester, I had pretty much given up as she wasn't reciprocating the effort. After a couple of months of not speaking to her or seeing her, my feelings about her have started to come back. I've also begun having vivid dreams where she confronts me and tells me she feels the same way about me.
Get off the acid, brother.
Here's my question. Should I try and reach out to her again and try to become friends, or hopefully something more, or should I just try and have a nice long wank trying to forget about it? Cheers from Jordan. P.S. Love your work. Keen for your next tour. Thanks, man.
Cool. What a good man.
All right, so basically, Jordan, I want to sum up your email. I like a girl. I asked her out. She said no, and I'm still obsessed with her.
Yeah, you always want what you can't have. But here's the good thing you got going for you, Jordan. If you're 6'3" and around 120 kegs, he's got some. He actually have a good mold there.
Yeah, you've got a good body under the.
If you want to go to the gym and start throwing around some dumbbells, I reckon you could really turn things around for yourself.
Yeah, 100%, man. 6'3" and being that heavy, like that's obviously bad. That's bad being heavy that now, but you've got like a strong body underneath all of that.
Yeah, man.
And if you like me, I'm 6'8" and about 70 kilos. I got a lot more work to do than you. Do you know what I mean? I gotta put on weight. You could totally lose that weight, improve yourself, and that'll help. And then you'll be fucking 6'3" and 90 kilos, bro.
That's the
Girls
thing,
will be all over you.
Yeah, I reckon all you need to do is just get like a good weights program, like 4 or 5 days a week. Hit up some
both
cardio.
of us used to be personal trainers.
Yeah,
this is it.
Hit up some cardio, get some cardio, and get on like a low carb diet for like a month, and then hit her up. Hit her up. Hit her up when
ignore her. Become really fucking hot.
Yeah.
And then just send her a photo of yourself on Snapchat, just in a t-shirt where you fill it out nicely and go, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, and allow her to see that you've made a change. Once you've done it, like allow her to see how much you've changed and how much of a different man you are.
And make sure you're not doing this for her either.
Yeah, do it for yourself.
I did this for you. That's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
You should do it for yourself. And then you know what? If you can lose a bit of weight, and you'll find a better girl, man.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, bro, you asked her out. That's really good. Good on you for taking that step. But she did say no. And she's still not interested.
Here's the thing about doing this. The good thing that can come from this is, especially if you do it for yourself, you'll lose the weight and you'll become more attractive to the opposite sex anyway. So even if you do go back to this chick and she goes, nah, I'm not interested, that's fine, because you've completely changed your body, you've completely changed yourself, and you've opened up a whole new door, whole new avenue to explore with other chicks, because automatically you'll become more attractive to the opposite sex.
And you'll become more confident. And like when you finally unlock confidence, like proper I know I'm the shit confidence. Yeah. Your interactions with other people and hitting on girls just goes to the next level. Yeah. Just knowing that you're the fucking shit.
100%.
It's like I can almost pinpoint the time in my life when that happened, and it fucking changes everything, man. So I would suggest hit the gym and just improve yourself. Become the best version of yourself. Become totally happy with yourself and not need anybody else. And they'll come to you, bro.
That's exactly right, man. Lewis summed it up pretty well there. You've just got to, I think you've got to take this time to sort of look at yourself in the mirror, go, right, this is the time I need to make a change. Set up a routine, set up a training program, get your diet sorted, become an absolute weapon, and then just go and get amongst
it.
Unleash the beast. Yeah.
And with that, I think we're going to wrap up the podcast, mate. Thank you very much for coming on Spearhead Sundays. I hope to have you back.
Thank you.
At some point.
Thank you, mate. I would love to be back, and I hope that our listeners enjoyed listening to us talk some smack.
Talk some shit. And keep an eye out for the 9As. Keep an eye out for Head Above Water. And anything else you want to plug before we go?
No, that's pretty much it.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Support me on Patreon. Send some questions through. I'll see you next week.
Catch you later.